Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your monthly reading for November. Hope you're doing well. So this reading is based on the 12 houses of the zodiac. Now if it doesn't relate to you, you can check your moon and rising sign as well, and hopefully they'll bring you some insight to your problem. Just want to cooperate here. Alright, so excuse me. So these are the 12 houses. Now I'm going to start with the 12th house here. This kind of acts as a general card for the month. It represents unconscious drives that want to come out this month. So these are things deep within us that want to surface and come out. So up top are the outer 6 houses, and these are the inner houses. So starting with the 12th house, we have the Magician here. So this is a very powerful card because it shows that you're kind of in your element. Now this is either already the case, I think it is already, and you just kind of have to see that, or it just wants to come out in another sense too. So now the first house here, associated with Aries, represents how we see ourselves. So this is the High Priestess. So this is a very intuitive and powerful card too. Actually, we have the first and then the second here, so that's kind of cool. Now the High Priestess speaks a lot about mystery as well. So things kind of semi-hidden or held behind a veil. So I think we're hiding something from ourselves that kind of wants to come out. Now across from this tower we have the 6th house. So I'm going to say this has to do with some sense of relationship. I'm going to definitely say that. So it's what I'm seeing is kind of detachment from a relationship that kind of went sour, and this is kind of the after the fact. So 7th house here, like I said, associated with relationships, connections. We have the Tower in reverse. So the Tower in reverse speaks of a calamity, but it's kind of been embraced. You know, like it's like a budding seed after a wildfire. You know, after the total destruction, now there's growth starting again. The base is still there, as you can see in the upright. There's still a base there. It was just the top that's left. So all that was needed has been stable and has stayed. Everything else that was unneeded is now gone. So to me, that's speaking of a relationship. So 2nd house here, this is of internal values and of materialism in a sense, but for me, I'm going to look at it as values here. So where do we go, or what creates stability in our lives? You know, how do we act upon our values, and what does it bring us? So the 10 of Wands here speaks in reverse is of a lightning load too. So upright, it speaks of a huge load. Now this load, I think, because of a shifting mindset, can be relieved, can be let go, can be lessened here. So that's kind of important for values, because you don't have to hold everything yourself. You know, you don't have to try and juggle everything on your own, especially if someone's not doing their part. You can't do their part. That's their job. Now, across from the second house, we have the 8th house of transformation and also of pain. So here, there's something hidden again, and I touched on that here with the first house. 8 of Swords says we're hiding something, or something's hidden externally from us, or it's this concept of being hidden that really can bring transformation to us. So hiding from ourselves is an easy thing to do, and I can totally understand why anyone would do that. Though this will bring transformation, and it will bring this Magician out. And the Magician is a wonderful card because it speaks of manifestation or total awareness of a given situation, and power over that situation. As soon as we acknowledge and understand a situation for what it is, we then have complete awareness of it and can move through it effortlessly, and it no longer holds us back. So next we have the 3rd house. So this is of our environment, also internal perceptions of that environment and how we communicate with that environment. Now, the 3rd house is ruled by Mercury, and this is also where the Magician, this is also the, the planet that rules or is associated with the Magician, Mercury, as well. So 3rd house here, I think you don't have to kind of distance yourself, and I'm getting the sense of like a kind of a touchy, sensitive situation or environment with something or someone perhaps in your environment, and it's really it can combust easily. And if that's not the case, it could be really trying to put yourself into a space where other people can understand you and see you. And you don't have to really hold back, or even in another sense, it could be this is a general reading. So if that doesn't relate to you, then it could be kind of holding on to something that doesn't really need to be held on to. You know, you're kind of holding it to yourself, and it's almost a sense of selfishness in a way. Now, across from this 3rd house is the 9th house. So this is of learning, of travel, of religion, philosophy, and we have the Judgment here. So when I see Judgment, I think of forgiveness immediately, and kind of breaking through that veil that was holding us back. Like here, you can see it's almost like there's a veil over their heads, and here there's the High Priestess holding a veil. There's a veil behind her. So to me, it's breaking away from that veil. Within that forgiveness and that compassion and that total understanding of a situation and embracing of that situation, we can break free from it through forgiveness of not only ourselves but of other people as well. Now, 4th house here, associated with security, what brings us internal security, where we go to find that security. It's associated with the home as well. We have the Emperor in reverse, so this is obviously a tyrant somewhere. It could be, we could be acting as a tyrant or power tripping on some concept, and that's not necessarily fair. Because here, across from our 4th house, 10th house, we have 9 of Swords. So, on a larger scale, a lot of people are kind of afraid of that. They don't want to approach you, and that's kind of part of this problem, holding back from something and keeping it contained until it bursts out, and it creates fear. And that's not good in any way for anyone, including yourself, if you are acting that way. Now, on another note, this could be an Aries within the home who is very out of control. Could be a father figure as well, an authority figure who kind of holds you down, holds you back, and breaking free from that is kind of relevant as well. And seeing their flaws as well with the judgment here is important, so that we can recognize them as human and imperfect as well, and kind of go where we need to be, and let what needs to come out come out. Now, our 10th house, I touched on that briefly, is associated with work too, but it's also the actual physical structure of the home as well, whereas the 4th house would be the relationships within that home and how it's kind of like a safety net. The 10th house would be the home itself, so the wood, the engineering behind it, the concrete on the ground, and here there's a sense of fear, so it's a fragility, and it's a distance from what is really needed. Next we'll go to the 5th house here, so that's associated with self-expression and individuality. Now we have the Hermit here, which is associated with our 6th house here. I'll touch on that in a moment. But the Hermit, really, I think you're saying nothing. I think it could also be passive aggressiveness, or it could be kind of like the silent treatment in a way as well. That's kind of what I'm getting. You're moving away, you're distancing, but this is more internally. Now, what you are actually doing is distancing yourself from what needs to be said, what needs to be forgiven. Because if this were, say, in the 11th house, it would be distancing for a different reason. But here it's internal. Now it's distancing from yourself and from what you really need, possibly, or it could be going within to find it as well. Here the lamp in the Hermit, he's going into the woods, and the lamp is the guide. It's the act of self-reflection and being alone with how you feel and what you're thinking, to try and separate it all and understand it. So across from that is the 11th house. So this is of groups, social groups, organizations, friends, and also dreams, hopes and dreams. So we could be distancing ourselves, I think, from what we really want and what we really want to create in our lives. I think you already know what the pain is from not exploring that. You know what our heart or what our soul really desires. Desire isn't bad per se, but if we get too attached to a desire, it can create hatred out of unfulfilled hopes. But here it's kind of avoiding even any sense of hope as well for what really needs to come out and what really needs to be created in our lives. Now this is associated with the 6th house, the Hermit, here, and we have the 4 of Swords in reverse. So the 4 of Swords again is about quiet contemplation upright, but reversed it's kind of it's the opposite. It's avoiding that sense of contemplation or self-reflection. So I'm getting a lot of distancing from the self and detaching from the self. Now 6th house is associated with routines as well, so this could be that work or some routine in our lives is keeping us from this, whatever it is. It's something though that in a way we're very used to, because routines are very comforting for a lot of people. You know, when you get into a routine, a day-to-day routine, and breaking from that can be a little bit scary, but change is always a beautiful thing, and that's illustrated by the other side of the circle, the Magician here, and it's speaking of this change being very empowering. The Magician is very empowered. He or she doesn't need anyone to kind of help create what they want in their lives. They're pretty self-sufficient, and it's an amazing thing to be in. So really feel that energy, go into that vibration, or explore that concept and try to understand what it means for you. What does that mean for you as an individual? All right. Hi Sagittarius, sorry there was a short break here, so I'm going to do in addition to the 12 houses, reading from the I Ching, the I Ching. Now the I Ching is an ancient oracle from China, and it often will help us see the issues around a situation, or help us understand what might transpire, and or how we need to actually see a situation. So I'm going to do a reading based on that. Now, traditionally it's not used by cards, it's actually coins, and I suggest doing further analysis on your own. You can do it with 3 coins, or there's a website as well that I can link down in the description, where you can see for yourself what it means. So. Okay, so we have 33 to 58. So first each hexagram, which you'll see right there, or right there, has a story associated with them. Now, the lines represent, they're called solid or unbroken or broken lines, and I won't describe fully how the I Ching works, but the differences in the lines speak of changes that need to happen. The translation for the I Ching is called the Book of Changes. So it's definitely a card for embracing change, or things that need to change. It doesn't often beat around the bush. It's very, very blunt and very honest oracle. I enjoy it for self-reflection too, so I definitely recommend giving it a go. So 33, the Hermit. Withdrawal. Without anger, allowing darkness to pass, turning the eye inward. So this is obviously of self-reflection. So we have been correct in our pushing, but we must understand that every action will also have a reaction. That said, we shall perform a calculated and joyful withdrawal from current circumstances. In this way, we may cultivate what we have gained, as a gardener would a newly acquiring sapling. The hermit withdraws to the mountain in a blissful state, excited about the wisdom gained and the time he will have to allow it to blossom within his being. That said, we are also advised to leave other people to their own devices and withdraw. So we have the first, second, third, and sixth line changing. So the first, each line changing will have a piece of wisdom or of I guess advice to give. So first, the hermit is stuck. He thought to dig himself a hole in which to withdraw, but now he is stuck in the hole. The wise man yields, but not by extremes. Remember, after the yielding is finished, we shall have to return. The second line, the hermit's knot. Tying and binding our affairs with a steadfast will presages assured success. The wise man ties up all loose affairs and binds the rest with iron before he withdraws. No quarter should be given. Third line, the fatigued hermit. He yields not out of joy, but rather out of overwhelming fatigue. There is no success in such a thing. Instead of withdrawing, the wise man will focus on non-stressful associates such as servants and lovers. Now the sixth line. The hermit retires. Everything is golden and finished. The wise man ties up loose ends, says his goodbyes, and ventures forth to construct his dream home upon the mountain. There should be no doubt in this, for all omens are favorable. So it seems like you're stuck now, and what it's saying is that the omens are there, and because of exhaustion, you need to pay attention to yourself and what you need, and this will bring great fortune in a sense. So I'll read the story of 58 now. You can also search in the website that I'll link. You can see the changes for these hexagrams as well. Now I'm using a translated version of the Book of Changes that was done by a man. It's called if you're worried about the references, it's called the Celestial Dragon I Ching, and you can search that up and see the author and what he's done to try and translate them. Now, the story for 58 is called The Piper. Song. Song, replenishment, rest, and rejoicing. The piper sings his song and marches around, lifting the people with the simple joy of his music. Now is the time to be happy, to sing, and to dance. By doing so, we will forget that we even had troubles in the first place. The past is dead, tomorrow is still a dream, today we must make merry. The wise man chants an inspiring tune, raising people's hearts for miles around. So that concludes the reading. I hope this helped in some way. If you did like or enjoy it, you can like the video, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.